Welcome to the greenhouse. I think we're episode 14. This is a fun journey again. I've been doing this for coming up on almost 8 years now. Last week of December, and I decided to come out in the greenhouse and spend just a few minutes reading my latest book, Foodscaping. Kind of like a food forest, right? Where you incorporate in some edible landscaping throughout your yard. So you start in zone 1, the foundation zone. Oh, it's raining in the greenhouse again. And then you work your way out to zones 2 and 3. So a lot of good stuff in here. So always trying to increase my knowledge. So this has been an interesting week, right? Christmas week. We had 2 days in a row, 2 days, where we hit a low of 28 degrees. Everything in the greenhouse did really well. I have 2 small heaters. I did set them on medium. A little chamomile tea today. So the 2 heaters, everything's thriving. You can see, I mean, I've got clusters of the chocolate cherry tomatoes here. I have another cluster starting up top. I did shoot some footage showing you what I did to prepare for the cold weather. I put my row covers up over my tomato plants. I said I wasn't going to do that. It didn't do any good. So you'll get to see that epic failure. However, my Swiss chard, kale, beets, fennel, all looking great. So we're in good shape there. And I'll show you what it looked like covered up, and then I'll unveil. I pulled everything off yesterday afternoon so you could see how things fared. My longevity spinach took a beating. However, because it was so thick, high, everything down below is good. So during the week I'll trim that back. Again, another short week with New Year's. I did want to talk a little bit about how everything's going in here. Again, I'm just blown away, especially the Kratky Method. My broccoli rabe is probably that big. Everything in this tower over here, thriving. I put some in here. Said I wasn't going to. I said this was only going to be for tomato plants. Whoops. And I'm just running out of places to put stuff. And I don't think I want to incorporate either one of the other 2 towers I had. At one point I had 5. I did sell one. But they're great. Again, there's nothing I do all week long other than I come in here, hand pollinate. I'll check the reservoir. It's at the point now, as these plants are getting bigger, that it's going to start soaking up that growing solution, or drinking, if you will. So I have to be a little more mindful of checking it weekly. And once a month, I'll drain it and refill it. All my seedlings are doing really well. Not a whole lot to show you this week. I'll go ahead, I'll grab the camera, and we'll talk just a little bit about the success of my cloned tomato plants from suckers. I did start doing some rosemary. I'll talk just a little bit about that, but this is going to be a really short video. So let me show you what's going on inside. I shot some video yesterday and the day before of outside, so we'll go back at the end and take a look at that. All right, Primo? It's so nice in here, right? Oh, you sweetheart. You growing with the Kratky Method? Look at this. Look at this broccoli rabe. I'm going to pull it out here. I say I don't like to do this, but look at the size of that broccoli rabe. Look at the Swiss chard over here. All right. More Swiss chard. All right, the 3 plants. And look, these roots aren't that much right there. It'll get much bigger. Look at the 2 escarole. I've already harvested the largest leaves. I'll come back and continue to do that, and eventually I'll have just the small head. But this is what I'm talking about, folks. In my reservoir, you can almost see by the condensation line, is right about there. I did put my bubbler back in because I'm done with my compost tea. Set it and forget it. This is getting overcrowded. At some point I'll pull out this whole plant and make sure I have room for everything else. Here we go over at the tower garden. All right, similar results. So it goes to show. These are very expensive, I might add. I love them. But look at the results I'm achieving here in just a bucket, a 3-gallon bucket. I'd almost argue, well, this is a pretty big leaf right here, but they're comparable. If you financially can't afford a tower, or you just want to kind of dip your toe in the water, so to speak, there you go, right there. That's, again, a form of hydroponics. So, a little bit easier than in soil. These results are remarkable. You think Primo likes the sun? Let's talk about this other tower. Again, it was just maybe a week, 2 at best, that I started to put some of my broccoli, rub, escarole. I do have a new tomato plant back here I just put in the other day. Again, let's talk about this tomato plant now, right? 2 episodes ago, maybe, it was even with the tower, and at the end I shot it. We were up here. Look at now, I need another clip up here. I've got flowers, so we're maybe another 12, 16 inches before I kind of bottom out, and then I'll have to start getting creative, which I've posted some photos of what this greenhouse will look like through the winter with the tomato plants. They were in the other corner last year, but you couldn't even get to the corner there. I was harvesting tomatoes by crawling underneath the vines of the tomato plant to get to the backside. It was like a jungle in here, but look at this cluster of tomatoes. It just keeps growing. So I have 3 right now, 4, 5, and another cluster here. I've got a cluster of tomatoes up here. You can see I've been harvesting my suckers. Harvesting. Here's another one here that needs to get harvested, right? And we're going to go ahead and talk about the suckers that I have that I'm cloning. Oh, that tea is delicious. The first one. This has mostly the brandywines. I'm sorry, not the brandywine. That's one of my favorite heirlooms. These are the Roma tomatoes. Look at the size of these plants. Right, these were all suckers. Now, let's take a look at the bottom. Look at the root formation, right? So that tells me I'm getting 100 success rate here of cloning these. So again, you saw the video. If you haven't, go back and take a look at how I cut the suckers. I put some root hormone in and then put them down in my 3-part mixture, which again, I've talked about. Look at that. So soon it'll be time to get them in a little bit bigger container. And remember, I talked about the strategy of I'm not concerned if my tomato plants fail during the cold weather. Here's why. End of February, beginning of March, all of these tomato plants will go right in the ground. So I'm setting myself up for success. Now, the latest that I've been trying here, because I've had such success, is cloning my rosemary. These could be difficult. They're almost impossible to start from seed. I have very difficult. Now I'm taking my cuttings. So these are about 3 days old, and they're staying really healthy. So that's a good sign that we might do all right. So we'll check back in a couple of weeks to see if we see the roots coming out. If that's the case, I'm going to do just a separate video on cloning plants. I've never had this success rate with my cloning station. I've done some videos on my cloning station. I used to think that was the preferred method. Not anymore. So I have, well, I don't know, another 5 or 6 rosemary plants that I love to gift these. So my neighbors, family, friends, they all get rosemary plants. And they take a long time to take from a sprig that you get to root until you get to something like this, all right? That's about 8 months worth of patience in trimming. This was a single sprig. Boy, that smells so good. And as I always talk about, you know when you got fresh herbs, when you touch them, your fingers get sticky. All those essential oils. So that's the goal there. I did transplant. I had some, I had it labeled as arugula, but this sure looks like escarole to me. They were in the seeds by the front of the greenhouse. So I've transplanted those two, as well as the vegetables I had. Now, I did move and finally trimmed my basil plant. So this was again over by my seedlings. It looks like it's doing really well. Nice and green, healthy. We'll see if we get new growth. Yep, there we go actually, right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's some new growth right in there. So I have one here. I've got one in the tower here. You can't see it. That's also doing really well. Here's a look at my, oh look, I'm getting a flower. How cool is that? Crazy. Marigolds, doing amazing. And the other day I showed you how I sprinkled some seeds into a tray. Well, there's what we're looking at right now. Look at that. I mean, I have 3 here, 4 here, 3, 2, 2, and 2. We're going to have a real pretty food forest, garden, foodscaping this year. I'm so excited. All right, Primo. Let's see what else we've got here. Look at that cherry tomato here. Look at the size difference now. I mean, it's double the size. Let's take a look at my fennel. This week in my soup, I'm going to finally get a chance to harvest my fennel. Let me see if I can work my way over here, but this is not by any means my largest fennel, but look at this. It's funny, Giovanni and Patrick were in here yesterday, my grandsons, and they were eating some of the fennel fronds up top here, but fennel's doing amazing. My Roma tomatoes, great. I've got more suckers to harvest yet. This is a gold mine, folks. Free tomato plants. I'm going to have 50, 60. Now, you know Gerald, my son, who also is on this channel with me, he's going to be the recipient of this free tomatoes. Here's another one, Swiss chard. Finally, look at the color of that. If you can see it, it's a beautiful, almost yellowish orange. And beets, not so good. I've got broccoli rabe. You can see I've been harvesting off these. Remember the other day, they were huge. I've harvested the leaves, so healthy lifestyle right here. Let's look at the other bed. Wow. It's getting hot in here. 9:20. Hold on, let's see what it is here. 76 degrees at a minimum right now, and it's probably only 50, 54 outside. It's going to get warm today finally. Just real quick anecdotal here. 28 degrees yesterday morning around 4 a.m. I think we hit about 74 degrees. Even hotter in the greenhouse, and we were hanging out in the yard with the grandkids. They all came over for lunch. I put together a new yard cart. I was using my son's. Now, you know I have a John Deere tractor, but sometimes it's too tight to use the bucket, so I've been borrowing my son's yard cart. I liked it so much I went out and bought one. Well, I put it together yesterday, and after lunch the grandkids were having a ball in it. So I'll show you, I'll put some footage on the end there, but it's amazing how just a simple tool, if you will, turned into a great toy for the kids. We had a blast with them. Anyway, here's the broccoli rabe. All right, doing great. Here's more. I have carrots in here. I caught Primo yesterday eating the tops off the carrots. Radishes, more Roma tomatoes. I mean, look at these clusters here. I have more up top, more over here. Again, I have suckers that I've been harvesting. Here's another one right here. My winter squash is doing really well. I did put down the compost tea last week. So, again, we've got an abundance here. And again, there's nothing healthier. Listen, 2020's been a crazy year for everybody. Clearly, it shows how health-wise with the virus, you have to have a healthy, strong immune system. I highly suggest you start growing and eating some greens. And if you can't grow it, that's okay. Support your local farmers if you can, or get to the supermarket and grab some organic greens, broccolis, cauliflowers. You got to have a variety of stuff. We have it throughout the week, and a salad. But I would really recommend you go with an organic vegetable if you can. If you can't, next best is at least eating that green, but insist that your supermarkets carry organic. If you demand it, they're going to be there and start stocking them for you. So again, it's really important to eat healthy. Hopefully, you'll start growing something in 2021 will be a healthier, happier new year for everybody. Getting tight in the greenhouse. This happens every year. As I get ready for my spring and I start all of my plants, yeah, I have a hard time walking in here. I really wish I built a bigger greenhouse. There's the cilantro. This is so amazing. Here are my beets. Be careful here. And no roots coming out yet, but we've got at least 2 months, so. And I'll put these out in the raised garden beds if my roots pop out sooner. They'll do okay. Let me pull out a tray of the fennel. There you go. Fennel's doing really well. I think this was a butternut squash. I need to get that transplanted. What else do I have here? More beets. As you can see, I've moved everything out of here now. So as these start to get a little bit healthier and can take the sun a little bit, this is more of a shady area. I'll put them down on the ground and it'll be easier for me to water. When my micro irrigation turns on for the raised garden beds, it sprays over the bed. So if I put these trays right along the base, as you've seen my tomato suckers and all, it gets watered. So it makes life a little bit easier for me. Well, it's raining again. I did turn the fan on. Quick shout out to Bree, author. This is a really good book. I don't get paid for this, but I'd like to acknowledge when someone takes the time to put into words and share their knowledge with us. I'm not telling you to go buy it. You can do a lot of free research online. Foodscape. I'll leave you with that. Wow, it's getting hot. I don't have a t-shirt on under this one, so I'm going to wrap it up here by saying I want to wish everybody a happy, healthy 2021. Have a safe New Year's Eve. Remember, start growing. Incorporate more organics into your diet. After surviving cancer, look, I had been aware of organics for many years. My mom's been into nutrition. She's turning 90. Oh, less than 2 months. Let's just put it at that. She's been an advocate of eating organic, more plant-based. She does eat some meat and dairy. Again, kind of like a Mediterranean diet or like they do in Italy. In most regions, not all, in most, meat is such a small portion of their diet. It's mostly beans, greens, fruits, vegetables. So I want to encourage everybody, and I'm really serious about this. All right, I know I like to kind of make light of this journey of mine. I feel very blessed that I survived cancer. I had a fatal form of throat cancer. Prognosis was not good. I had great doctors, and at that point I started being on a plant-based diet. It was through a supplemental protein shake that I was drinking. I was on a feeding tube, so I could not physically chew anything. But anyway, that started me on this journey, and in hindsight, I wish I would have started this lifestyle 20 plus years ago. It's like the saying about planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time, today. Well, I'm asking you today to start growing some of your own fruits, vegetables. Just experiment. Go to the store, buy a plant, put it in a bigger container. It's a really great, experience in life to grow some food, harvest it, and incorporate it into your cooking and your diet. It's the most fulfilling thing I've done other than raise a family, obviously. But this is a joy, they say. Gardening is a joy that lasts forever. Amen to that. Here's to a healthy, happy 2021. Please start growing. And I don't ask very often, but I'm having a hard time getting some good thumbnails. You need like 1,000 subscribers. We're a mile away from that. We're at like 330, which we're very grateful for that. I'm not looking to monetize my channel. I just want to offer up a better quality for you folks. Please like it, subscribe, share it, so we can get more people following this journey. And again, as I've told you guys in the past, the motivator for me is my nephew Camden. Camden, you know, we put that greenhouse together. 28 degrees here. It is possible to grow in the winter. I would suggest some beets, some kale, some cauliflower, even cabbage. You see the greens, the broccoli rabe. That's what you grow in the winter. If you push the envelope like I do, you get your tomatoes going. But Camden, I want to see what you're growing. I'm going to call you, and I'm going to FaceTime you, and I'm going to follow up. And I'd like to see the rest of you do the same. I'd like to see your posts telling me that you've started your garden. I don't care if it's a container garden. All right, so please, I'm really asking you all to start growing your own vegetables. I really think you'll be very pleased at what you get in return from it. So I'm going to shut up. You can watch some video. I'll attach it to the end here, and we'll see you next year. All right, I'm going to read a little bit more before I can't stand the heat in here. Yep, that's usually where you can find Primo. Blackberries. My son's growing them. That's what I'm going to do next. All right, 28 degrees out. There's frost on the ground. I'm really glad I decided to cover everything up. Unfortunately, I did not take the time to cover up my longevity spinach. I'll have to probably cut that way back. I have a thermometer. It sits on the outer wall here, and you could see we're probably 34, high humidity. I'm going to say it's probably closer to 42 inside here. When you get into the center of the greenhouse, just walking by a heater right now. So that's what's going on in sunny Florida Zone 9B. 28 degrees. After 2 days of 28 degrees, here's what we got. Rosemary did well. Marigolds are okay. All my tomato plants, they got fried. My broccoli rabe, carrot, and thyme did well. There's the other. That was the San Marzano. Marigolds look great. Those are my aromas. There's my other rosemary. And the black Suriname cherry I covered. The fruit, I'm guessing looks okay. I can't quite, there it is there. So we'll see if it ripens. Not sure if the yucca plants are coming back. My carambola definitely looks stressed. The moringa, the leaves are fried. Avocado looks great. That avocado looks great. My sisu spinach and longevity looks like the top layer is pretty much toast, but Back below it, it looks okay, so I'll cut that back. My katuk leaves are all dried. The red Turk's cap, yeah, not looking good, but I'll cut those back. The red plum looks okay, and so does the sweet almond. And here's the Birdie's raised garden bed that has the the Bangor carrots, the broccoli rabe, and a fennel. All did real well. So success there. Failure on the tomato plants though. Finally, we'll take a look at the raised garden bed that has the kale and Swiss chard and the beets. They're looking fine. Everything's good. So they tolerated the cold weather really well. All right, the kale and celery did just fine. These are the cabbages. They look fine. The fennel, I might trim those back just a little bit, or I'm going to harvest them soon. But again, they did well. Here's a look at the banana plant. We got some damage up there. I'm hoping that my bananas survived and stayed warm enough. I see bees up there pollinating them, so we'll just have to keep an eye on the bananas and see how they do. All right, so that's what we've got right now after 2 days of 28 degrees being our low. There he is, Primo. Right, he loves hanging out in paradise. Early mornings in the greenhouse, zone 9B. 46 outside, gorgeous inside. Welcome to paradise.